This is dropped on a wall past Wednesday here at Soccer Down Here AM, SDH AM. John, here you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Here's the rundown for the morning. We got news to start things off, or at least reports to start things off. I don't think there's anything officially official about the story that we're going to break here on the table in just a little bit. But nothing officially official, I don't think. We'll go back and circle back. That'll be the lead. Tyler Pilgrim joins us at 9:15, and we'll talk about everything from the news that is being reported to an MLS Cup to what happened last weekend in Atlanta United and whatever else is on Tyler's mind as we go here in hour number one. Hour number two is going over what happened yesterday, the last match from an international perspective for a listen there. We'll go through the highlights there, break all of that down for you, go through all the numbers and all the notes and all the news with that. And then there's other stuff to get into this morning, the news and notes and all the other stories that we'll get into for hour number two. So that's your rundown this morning. Rundown for the rest of the week. Tonight, Maddie and I will be at Shiloh High School out in Gwinnett County. We are going to be hopefully not freezing, and we will have Kalonji and Dalton United tonight in the UPSL. So we'll be out there for that tonight and bundled up appropriately along with our friends at AS. MG, 7 o'clock, I think, is the start time shortly thereafter, and we'll be there on all their streaming services. We'll talk about that tomorrow and get everybody ready for what's going on in the UPSL. So we'll see what else is going on in and around the planet, and we'll take it easy and we'll see where we go. Tomorrow, once again, Nino and Nico, the Power Hour in hour number two, and then hour number one is wide open. We're efforting some guests and some things having to do with the college ranks. News out of Jacksonville yesterday had Sporting Jacks adding a USL Super League team, and they're going to play at the University of North Florida, and they're going to be in next year. So Sporting Jacks, Mayor Donna Deegan was there yesterday, big to-do at the University of North Florida. So it was Sporting Jacks adding a USLS team, and they're going to play at UNF next year. So USLS, UNF, Sporting Jacks 25. That came out yesterday as well. We're efforting some folks there. Maybe we can catch up with our buddy Steve Livingston, talk some Scottish Claymores and the NFL Europe aspect of the whole thing. So there's that. And we're also efforting once again for Friday. If folks can't make it on Thursday, we got Friday. Hopefully we can catch up with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring. And if it is Michael Parkhurst, we can ask him specifically about Maxi Rodriguez. Interesting news out of USL Championship, of course, after Kaler leaves yesterday. Detroit City does not renew the contract of Maxi Rodriguez. Instantaneously, when it's announced that Detroit City isn't hanging on to Maxi Rodriguez, Rhode Island FC sits there, raises their hand, and goes, well, we are. And so Rhode Island FC, short of, I think, two players, if I remember my conversation with Kaler yesterday, bringing back pretty much everybody that made it the last game of the year. Now you add Maxi Rodriguez to Noah Fuson, J.J. Williams, Koke Vegas, and you're really showing out that you're serious in 2025. And remember, Tidewater Landing is, you want to be first year into a new barn. You bring in all the players that you had last year for the most part, and then you add Maxi Rodriguez. So that's Rhode Island FC ain't playing. So we'll see if our buddy Michael Parkhurst can join us on Friday, and we'll discuss that and everything else. So that's where we are. So from a guesting perspective, next couple of days, it is our standard folks tomorrow and in a couple of minutes. Then Power Hour, once again, Nino and Nico. We're going to try and bring in some college folks because we have some college playoffs continuing this weekend, hopefully not as cold as it was this morning. And then the news out of Jacksonville. So we are efforting guests for the remainder of the week. And if we cannot have them live, we will have them do 1v1s or however many versus me. And that'll get posted to the network. So efforting guests, college and pro. And we'll see if we can have them live. If we can't have them live, we'll have them on the network. And so set your notifications appropriately for everything that is there when it comes out of the SDH network, whether it's an interview or the shows and the segments, all that kind of stuff. So that's your early warnings this morning. Opening kickoff, I'm going to save Garber for when Tyler drops by. So opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are hanging out with us and watching on the video side of things. And once again, you hit that QR code. Thank you, Abby, for making a cleaner one than I ever could. Hit that QR code, go to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. What you end up doing there is you want to spend a decent amount of money if you're a coffee person and get all the different varieties of coffee. And then what you do is on your way out the door, you hit Soccer Down Here 15 as your coupon code. Then you get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest at youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now, this morning, it was cold as hell for an oxymoron. How many of you just kind of wanted to stay in bed this morning? And if there was a way that I could have figured out how to do the show from bed, electric blanket turned to 7, had my blanket on top of that. The boss man was in his bed, and he had his blanket over him. And at the age of, we think, 8, he's all kind of creaky boned, and he's just kind of like tucked his head in the bed, and he just doesn't want to get out. How many of you kind of wanted just to stay in bed this morning and do whatever it was that you wanted to do from bed? Just asking. I was one of those folks. It's like, man, it was just too cold. I mean, last night, and we did the faucets running thing here at Office HD, but it got to the point last night because we have 2 cars. Boss is out working, and she is making her way from the Midwest to the West, and then she'll be back like first thing Saturday morning. And I mean like first thing Saturday morning. She's taking an alley bird back from San Diego. She'll be back first thing Saturday morning. So just in time for breakfast, just in time to fall back asleep. 2 cars, 1 car garage. So 1 car is outside, and it's hers. So I took our car cover that traditionally fits the Subaru and put it over her car last night. So imagine me trying to fit a car cover over a car outside in the weather that we had last night, trying to make sure that the car cover was actually going to work, not blow away if there was a gust of wind or something, because we kind of live in a valley, because there's like trees and buildings, and it creates its own little valley wind shift, and its own little wind creation. So tried to make sure that the car cover didn't fly off the car, so I had to fasten it down. And all of this activity outside last night, and we all know how cold it was last night. So this morning, as a direct result of what I was doing last night to make sure that cars were covered, I didn't want to get out of bed. Like I said, I was warm, I was happy, I was fine. But if there was a way, and this is something I probably have to investigate going forward, if there's a way to do the show and still function, I mean, like, you're still doing all the, the sound effects, and the board is available and all these kinds of things. If there was a way that I could figure out how to do it, I would do it for mornings like this. Because then you've got to put on like 19 layers of clothing. You got to take somebody outside. Mercifully, he's got an incredible amount of common sense, and all he wants to do is go outside, do his business. He'll do his 10 to 100, and he's back inside. He's not one to lollygag in the morning. I give him full credit for that. He's not a morning person. Once again, full credit that he's not a morning person. Because I know that there are some pets that are morning people, and I don't know how their owners survive those kinds of things. They want to go out for their big walk first thing in the morning, and it's all refreshing, and the air hits you the right way, and it doesn't matter what the size of the animal is. Some of them are morning people. Mercifully, the rowdy man is not a morning person. He goes out, does 10-100, goes back inside, goes back in the bed, cover him up, and he's fine. So he gets full credit for that. But you still, the cost-benefit analysis of putting 95 layers of clothing on just so someone can go out and do a quick 10-100, then come back inside, then go back under the covers. You've invested all this time in getting dressed. Then you go outside for like 35 seconds, come back inside, and you're back to wearing all that clothes, and you're in an environment that's probably like 82 degrees inside with all the clothes that you put on just for that quick 10-100. So the cost-benefit analysis has to be measured here when it comes to what you're doing in the morning. but everything on, everything off, and now I'm just hoping that I don't slip off of the bouncy ball chair that I have here because of the certain clothing that I chose. So if all of a sudden you see me slide out of frame, it's because I couldn't quite navigate the clothing that I still have on when I took somebody outside for a quick 10-100 before the show started this morning. So if I slip out of the chair, you'll know why. There you go. That's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code for those of you who are hanging out with us, however you're hanging out with us. Don't forget, when you start your day with Kickoff Coffee, use the code Soccer Down Here 15 to get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvest at youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friend Melissa Ortiz and our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now that I have taken to you the perils of taking animals outside, we go to the Casa de Tyler and see if he has the same issues that we have. Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, I was kind of breaking down the whole idea of taking someone outdoors, not me, and having them do their morning business. And mercifully, somebody is not a morning person. Well, both of us here in the house are not morning people. But somebody who wants to go outside and do a morning pit stop, he's not a morning person. It's like, dude, I'm in, I'm out, I'm done. I'm not hanging out here. But there are some dogs that are morning dogs, and they want to take that big walk. They want to do all these kinds of things, and you're sitting there going, oh my God, I'm going to freeze out here. He's fine. I'm not. Mercifully, I have an animal here this morning who is not a morning person. He wants to get in, get out, get back inside. And I was mentioning the whole clothes thing where you put 19 layers on and it's for like 40 seconds. And then you have to take the 19 layers off and get back to normal. So, yeah, that's my morning. How's yours?
I mean, I was out yesterday all in the cold outside all day until like, I don't even know, like 10 o'clock last night, I think.
Right.
So I'm still a popsicle. And then, of course, it got colder overnight. But, yeah, our dog is very much not a morning person either. She'll get up and then she'll kind of do her stretches, her little morning yoga deal. And then, work her way outside. And thankfully, like with our backyard, I can just open the door and say, hey, good luck.
Okay.
And then she'll go do her thing real quick and kind of tiptoe around and be like, it's really cold. I'm coming back in. And then she'll go lay in front of one of the vents. Yesterday, we woke up to take children, talking about being morning people, to the doctors. And we needed to use both cars. Woke up. And my wife had to get one at an earlier time, and then I was going to take the other one at the later time. Well, the one car that I was going to take was parked behind the car that she needed to take.
Yes.
My bad. It is what it is. It won't crank.
Oh,
so then I had to spend, part of the day yesterday going to Costco, getting a battery, putting it in, freezing the coldest day of the year.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, not a morning person in any way.
No. I mean, that's just, I'm right there with you. I am not a morning person at all. If my morning could start about 2:00 in the afternoon, I think I'd be in business.
That would be great. Give me like 6 hours of waking up, and then I can start everything else, and I'll be fine.
And so how is the car with the new battery, by the way?
Great. It cranked up. It ran. I was super proud of my very minimal skills it took to replace the battery. I always feel good, even though like when it's something simple, like I had to unscrew, 2 bolts, swap the batteries out, screw them back in. And I'm like, I'm a mechanic now.
I always defer to those who prefer to charge you a serious amount of money for those kinds of things.
That's the problem. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
This has been the year I need to burn sage and wave it all through every car I own because every month there's something different. I'm so tired of it.
Yes. But no, I had to drop $900 on car repair before this past weekend. And I had to go back twice. So Friday I go in, and yes, we're going to talk about soccer here in a second. Everybody's like, why are we talking about cars?
It all ties back.
It does. Last Friday, it was after coming back from Thanksgiving, I was over my mileage, needed to get an oil change. And so car's north of 75,000 miles, the Subaru is. And so I take the car to where I normally get my oil change, check the filters, rotate the tires, all that kind of stuff. Guy comes back to me and says, you need a new oil pan because we can't access, we can't get the oil out of your car because the oil pan doesn't want to behave. And so he's telling me, he's showing me the screw and the screw's not rotating. And so there's, so we need to get you a new oil pan. Okay, great. And so I said, run the estimate for me. He runs the estimate for me, and it pretty much just caught fire in my hand after I looked at the number. And then I said, okay, well, how long is this going to take? And he says, it's going to take about 3 hours, 3.5 hours to get everything done. And I'm like, I got to go to work. This is not happening.
Yep.
So I'll be back tomorrow. And so tomorrow went from Friday to Saturday, and I spent Saturday basically 4 hours and 20 minutes, 4:20. It was a 4:20 appearance for all of the stuff to happen in the car. And my Saturday was shot because I was camped out at where I traditionally get all of my things done for the Subaru. So, yeah.
It's days like that where I'm just like, I think I'm just going to buy a horse, and I'm going to show up to Atlanta United games on a horse. They better put in a hitching post somewhere.
I was going to say, like gate 1 at the where you get your credentials and you go through the metal detector, you get a hitching post.
Yeah.
See,
just park old buddy outside.
But then you got to get the cowboy hat, and you got to make sure that everything. It's like you dismount, and it turns into like an episode of either Justified or like a Roy Rogers, Dale Evans movie.
I'll make it happen.
See,
I'll bust out the hat.
But you know that Jason Kirksey at MBS would sit there, and he would set everything aside for you. He would take that little grass swale right next to the metal detectors and the media entrance. He'd sit there, and he would make that your space for the horse.
For my horse. Giggles, or whatever my horse's name is going to be.
Yeah. I mean, your horse's name is Fred.
Yeah.
And one day he'll be dead. Yo, yo, yo. There you go. Blue Rodeo. Not Blue Rodeo. I think it's Rubber Rodeo. I Want to Be a Cowboy. 1980s tune. That's where that came from. Paul Tenorio et al. This morning. Major League Soccer's Board of Governors has extended the contract of Commissioner Don Garber through the end of the 2027 season. Garber's previous deal ran through the end of 2023. Garber, who marked 25 years, and this is Tenorio's wording, 25 years as a commissioner in August, continued to work this season as negotiations move forward on his new deal. Financial terms of the contract have not been disclosed. Over the last quarter century, once again, this is Tenorio's wording, Garber, 67, Carper, like that really matters. First helped to keep MLS afloat in 2001, crafting a business plan for a commercial business called Soccer United Marketing, and expanding the league rapidly into new markets, building out infrastructure via billions of dollars of investment in stadia and training facilities across the country. Quote from Bennett Rosenthal, co-owner at LAFC, popularity of soccer in North America, tasked with guiding MLS through this crucial period of time with global star Lionel Messi playing for Inter Miami, the Club World Cup being played on American soil in 25, 2 MLS teams in the competition, then the 26 World Cup co-hosted by the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Quoting Garber this summer, our goal is to double our fan base and to do that by the years after the World Cup. So it appears Don Garber is going to be hanging around as the Board of Governors are extending the contract of him as commissioner for Major League Soccer through the end of the through the 26 World Cup, and I believe with a month left in the CBA. So that's where the timing is right now. So Don Garber ain't going nowhere, Tyler. What say you? Reaction. I want to hear from you. So what's on your mind?
I mean, I don't think it was like unexpected. He's been the guy, obviously, like you said, for 25 years, and he's done a lot of good for MLS. And running it the way that he's run it, I don't know that it would have grown had it been done any other way. Mm-hmm. I mean, it definitely, he's taken it through a period where many other leagues have failed and still continue to fail in North America. So, I mean, I think the funny stat that I was looking at is like when he took over as commissioner, or whatever it was called back then.
Grand Exalted Poobah.
Yeah, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
The fee to get into the league was $5 million. and San Diego just paid $500 million.
Move the decimal point 2 places over, sir.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're bringing in money. You've got so much going for you with obviously Messi is one thing, but I mean the Apple TV deal. I think the biggest thing from here is he says I want to double the fan base, and you have to take advantage of the World Cup. But how? Like I want to hear how you're going to do that, because doubling the fan base is like those are big words, and I just feel like I don't know. Because I love the Apple TV deal and I don't want it to go anywhere, because I love the fact that, I don't have to jump through hoops. I'll just say that to watch Atlanta United and everything.
Right.
But how does it in itself grow viewership? You have to, like it gets promoted, in a lot of ways on streaming platforms and obviously on Apple TV itself. But what is it doing outside of that? Like we know the Atlanta Miami series, they were playing it at Apple stores and stuff like that. Like that's cool, but that's not, people aren't going to the Apple store to watch a soccer game. People are going to the bar to watch a soccer game. People are going to, the pubs and things like that. Like with the World Cup coming in, I just want to know how he plans on making those big words into an actual thing that happens.
10 years, $2.5 billion with a B on the broadcast deal. I can give you two things that I would think they need to improve upon where the TV deal is concerned. One, you got to have the local radio option on the road. You have to have that option. I am not going to deny that I enjoy listening to the home team in certain situations, because there are some great voices in and around the country that are attached to Major League Soccer franchises. You have, Dave Denholm and Joe Totino, who are legends in Los Angeles. You have, in years past, you had folks like Nate Bacady, who've been tied to the Sporting Kansas City. You've got Glenn Davis in Houston that is tied to that product there. And so these voices that we know, it's great to hear them as a part of the home radio aspect. But I think that if you have a team that does radio both home and away and is on site, United, Atlanta, you've got to have that option as well. And I know that from a television perspective, what you need to have is another audio line coming from a radio booth and the space inside the television production truck, A, to house that line, and B, have the ability to send that signal to the head end for Apple. That's something for me anyway, first and foremost, that they've got to fix. You've got to have both options available for your radio broadcast.
And it's not like this is a incredibly difficult thing to do, especially for a company like Apple. The wires are sitting around in a truck somewhere. You just got to run them. I know that's like being overly simple, but I mean, really, like you already have the infrastructure. You just need to swap it up. I mean, like Atlanta, we're lucky that, Mike and Jason are able to travel with the team and do as much as they do. Not every market has that, but it should be an option if that team has their own, radio voices. It's not hard. You should be able to go on the broadcast and swap it over and listen to the ones that you want to listen to. I mean, it's not like this requires some exorbitant amount of, time and resources to make happen. It's already there. So I agree. I think that's a simple kind of like fan service type fix that would, I mean, that's not going to fix everything, but it's just one of those things. It's like, hey, give us this. Come on, man. It's not hard. Just make it happen.
Point number two, and there's another point that has been made in the Twitch pitch that I seriously want to get into this morning. Point number two, from me anyway, when you have a program and it is in the traditional linear sense, in the traditional television, doubleheader sense, where, and this was something that we experienced last weekend, where you have one game's time slot with a bit of a buffer for your in-between programming, your sandwich programming, which goes into your second program, the back end of the doubleheader, plus your post game from there. The way that Apple has it currently structured is that instead of it being a linear event, pregame, game one, sandwich programming, game two, post game, thinking about it all in a straight line. Once game one is over, you've got to back out because you get that screen. The broadcast the broadcast of this live event is over.
Yep, with the cool music.
With the cool Hans Zimmer music and everything, and everybody waving flags and seeing the broadcast is terminé, as they say in French. The 10 languages that you get to see with the 17s waving their flags, and the broadcast is over. You have to back out of game number one, come back to the main page, go to game number two, and if there's some space in between, you literally have to do 3 separate acts. You've got to go to game number one, back out of game number one, go to your sandwich programming for act number 2, come out of that, then go to act number 3, which is game 2 of the doubleheader, which would finish, in theory, your day. That has to be, when you have something that is back-to-back like that, just make it a linear push to where you don't have to keep backing out and backing back in. I know that you do that to measure your metrics. I get it. You sit there and you take each and every program as its individual thing. There has to be a way for Apple, I would imagine, to measure your metrics across the board and see where you spike and how many folks join in there, instead of making it so labor intuitive every single time you have a doubleheader situation to where you have to do 3 separate things to watch 2 games.
And there is a way, like, to make that happen for sure. And I agree. I think, talking about the metrics, if you're having people do that, especially like a more casual fan who's like going to tune in for their team, and then maybe they're at the house, right? They're doing stuff. They leave the TV on. Mm-hmm. Instead of getting that freaking, wallpaper with the music, like, cool, you go to the next game and you start hearing the excitement around that game. And like, yes, it's encapsulated in the Apple TV app, mm-hmm. but maybe that helps a casual fan become a little bit more well-versed in other teams in the league, because they're going to catch, just as a byproduct, another team or another set of teams playing. It's the same thing that, that happens like when you're growing up or when you go to a bar and you're like, oh, hey, the game's on. I don't care about these teams, but I'm going to watch it because it's on. Like, it's that same kind of vibe. And, but I agree. And I think the whole scheduling thing in general is a topic, but like, those 2 points are big for me, especially that last one, because, it always drives me crazy where, I'm sitting down on the rare occasion that we get to, because during the regular season we're at the Atlanta games, but like, it's nice to be able to start, if I could, the early one, even if it's Atlanta away. And then I want to catch, things like while I'm doing spaces after, or while we're doing whatever in the background, I want the other game on. And it doesn't happen most of the time because I get caught up doing our post-match work, and I come back and I look at the TV and I see the 17s waving their flags and the music playing. And I'm like, this is not, I mean, I love to see that. I love to see the 17s doing that. However, I would need the game to be played. Like, just transition over. Like, other apps do it. I think Paramount does it. Like all the CBS stuff in general. I think it all does it. It's just kind of poor design. I say poor. I don't know if it was on purpose. I'm assuming maybe for analytics, like you said, but it's just not good.
Yeah,
it needs to be fixed.
So that's those are the first 2. One that Michael Head has brought up in the Twitch pitch, and it is a point that we have been talking about forever. We've said it for years. Scheduling. Why not own Friday nights? Michael views it as a missed opportunity. What we have proposed for the growth of Major League Soccer, and once again, I say this as someone who covers high school football on Friday nights here in the South. There are some states where it is big. Not every state in the union is this way. If you were to make it Football Night in America, FUTBOL, or however you want to phrase it, and you had a doubleheader. You had an Eastern match and a Western match on a Friday night and created it and turned it into event programming. Turn it into your version of College Game Day. The 360 folks are on site at game number 1, or they're on site at game number 2 on the Western side of things. And you see how things go from one aspect to the other. They're hosting on site. They could be in New York, maybe some in New York, some on site. You start your evening at
like they did for the playoffs or
yeah.
for the finals.
Yeah. So 6:30 or 7:00, you do your half hour or your hour. Your kick is at 7:40 in the Eastern time zone. You get your Eastern Conference game at 7:40. In theory, you would be over by what, 9:45?
Yep.
So you're over at 9:45. You go back to your studio setting. Then wherever that is, if they're on-site Western Conference, if it's New York and Western Conference, then what you do is you set things up for 10:30/10:40. You discuss things. You turn it into a round table. You've got the table on the field. You have folks wandering by with a hot mic, these kinds of things. Turn Friday night into an event. That way you can own Friday night. And then once again, just make it that linear thing that we're talking about, where it's not like game 1, back out, sandwich programming, back out, game 2, and you're there. Make it one string, be on site, 2 places, New York and your Western Conference game, or Eastern Conference game and Western Conference game. Take the folks from New York, put them in your Eastern Conference locale, then take the other half, have them in the Western Conference, and turn it into a party. We've seen other folks do this. Take Friday night over and set yourself apart, because Liga MX it does the same thing with their nights. Go ahead and do the same thing with you in Major League Soccer.
Yeah, because you have to, going back to Don Garber, like if you're going to claim all of this massive growth, which has happened, right? Then you got to kind of own it at some point. Like you have Apple behind you. You have this deal that you've gotten with, one of the biggest tech companies in the world. It's great that you can stream it all over the world. Bring some of that culture, that is very much American. I mean, I understand, like, the College Game Day and all that kind of stuff it's very obviously only American.
Mm-hmm.
But lean into it, because that's how you grow the audience here in the United States. And that's still going to create some extra vibes and atmosphere and everything else around just the deal in general worldwide, because for those people that live outside the United States, depending on what time it is in their locale and all, that's an extra day of soccer that they're probably not getting to watch, if it's just 2 games, and it could be any teams really, just try to make it some maybe some rivalries, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Juice it up to start it. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, and build it up, and then the biggest thing is advertise the crap out of it, but make it known, like beyond the normal advertising. Like it needs to be like, they got to spend a little bit more money and say, hey, let's put this out onto regular television in terms of like the commercials for it, push it a lot, maybe make, like they do now with certain games, make a couple of them free in the beginning, especially, and just get the word out. Because that's right now, that's it. It's out of sight, out of mind for people that don't really pay for Apple TV and MLS. So, that's where I think they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot, but I like it. I would love, again, for MLS, if they want to be taken seriously overall with the big, leagues in the US, they have to step up and say, well, this is going to be our day or our time. Like, 4 hours on a Saturday night is just not enough.
It's our time. See Don Garber, in New York City on top of the Empire State Building with a megaphone. It's our time.
We get Bruce Buffer out there to just, it's time.
Exactly. Well, but see now, what you do, day number 1, Eastern Conference game, beginning of the doubleheader. You have Bruce Buffer come out at 7:30 to lead. It's like you run your open, da, 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 come out wide shot. Fireworks go off at whatever venue you're at. Bruce Buffer is standing at the center stripe.
Yep.
It's time. And then you go into your open and you go all these other things. And then
Fireworks,
Kevin Egan.
explosions.
Bruce Buffer, great to have him as a part of the MLS family. Have Kevin Egan going nuts or something like that. Sasha tries to tackle him, and something like that. See, we're creating content here.
I mean, it's here. Look, all you got to do, MLS, Don Garber, is come here, pay attention to the past 10 minutes of conversation, and you'll take over soccer.
Look, we fixed the All-Star game.
Yeah.
We fixed the All-Star game, not just 1 year, but 2 years in a row. We fixed the MLS All-Star game and turned it into a Royal Rumble fan event that was legendary. It's some of the most fun content that we ever workshopped. Go listen to it. Go find it. And that's our fix to the MLS All-Star game. We can help us help you is basically where we are here. I mean, over the top fireworks. See?
We'll take a cut.
We want a credit. We want the credit. We want to be the broadcast partner. Let us be a broadcast partner. Let us, help out with the revenue, but help us help you. Get Bruce Buffer, get fireworks, football night in America.
It's easy.
See, we just workshop the whole blanking thing here.
Yeah.
It's there. And besides, the beauty of content like this is it stays.
Yep.
It's going to be on the app. It's going to be the fix for Major League Soccer going forward now that Don Garber is going to be staying through 2027. I don't know if you know this, but we have a championship game coming up this weekend.
Allegedly.
I don't know. I don't know if you know this, but
I've heard a thing or two.
And Ricky Puig, we talked about this on Monday, that Ricky Puig played 30 minutes apparently on something akin to a torn ACL that included the game-winning moment for LAG as they went ahead and beat Seattle to advance to the title game where they are hosting Red Bulls. So it is Emil Forsberg versus 2/3 of the Killer Peas coming up this weekend. When you watched or paid attention to whatever extent you paid attention to the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals, what were some of your takeaways as we get ready for MLS Cup?
I think watching the Eastern Conference final, it made me even more frustrated that Atlanta just couldn't pull that one out. They couldn't bring what they had brought because Orlando they didn't play good in the Atlanta game. They just did slightly enough to beat Atlanta, but then they didn't look great in the match against Red Bulls. And, I think Henry said it on our show on Monday, but
Ache?
Yeah, that guy. Facundo Torres is going to have nightmares about that counterattack that they blew for a long time because that was it. Like that would have changed the entire game. It was early in the game, but it was back and forth. And the fact that either Orlando let Red Bulls have that much possession or the Red Bulls just made it happen on their own, I don't know. Orlando didn't play the game that they needed to play in front of their home fans. It just, it was just kind of a lackluster, it felt like. And to be fair, like the Red Bulls don't look like an MLS Cup team, but they're doing enough to get by. And Carlos Cornell is doing everything he needs to do to keep them in it. Mm-hmm. And then they're squeaking away a goal here and there to win games. And when it comes to the Galaxy, especially now missing Ricky Puig, like if you can hold them defensively, similar to how Seattle did, they had that one moment of weakness, that one silly giveaway, and the Galaxy is going to make you pay when you have those moments. If Red Bulls can be a little bit more disciplined, if Carlos Cornell can stand on his head, they have a shot. They really do. And as far as the other side, Seattle, they gave a good account of themselves. I thought Nuhu was really good. I thought, what is his name? He's their young winger in what is his name? Georgie, and I forget his last.
Georgie Manungu.
Yeah. I thought he was fun to watch. He needs some refinement. He kind of reminds me in a way of like Edwin Mosquera here. Like he's got the speed. He's a little fun to watch on the ball, but
a newborn colt that hasn't quite figured it out.
Yeah, just got a little bit of refinement that needs to happen. But I thought they had opportunities in that game, similar to how Orlando did on the other side. They just couldn't get that final ball where The Galaxy did. And then the fact that Ricky Pooch did it on a torn ACL, you see him gingerly limping around, you know. I mean, he's one of those personalities. We kind of talked about it on Monday with Jake Zivin when he was on, but like he's one of those personalities that is like he feels now at this point purely MLS, and he's what this league needs. Like it's one thing to have the Zlatans come in and the Messis come in, like they're their own, you know, but they've already done it everywhere else. Ricky Pooch is young, you know, and for him to come in and, you know, tweet to MLS and to Don Garber, like, oh, there's 22 days until the next game. And then he's, you know, giving these post-match interviews and he's having fun with it. And then to see the emotion, obviously, after the end of the game with him and Greg Vanney.
Yep.
I mean, I hate it for him and I hope he comes back strong, like really strong, because this team and this league, they need that kind of personality. So it sucks for him to not be able to play in the final, though. I hate that for him.
So what's your gut tell you? Is it going to be LAG figuring out a way? But we do know that Red Bulls with Emil Forsberg are far different than Red Bulls without Emil Forsberg.
Yep.
And I think that everybody looks at that seeding, and yes, Red Bulls are the lowest seed to make it into an MLS Cup final, but that seeding is a bit misleading because of they would not have been the seed they are had Emil Forsberg been healthy the entire season.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, it's just they still struggle to score goals like consistently. And when you go up against a team like the Galaxy, it's almost like playing Miami. You're going to have to score goals. Like you're going to have to score more than one because they're going to get theirs. Now, Ricky Pooch not being there is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Marco Royce, if he can play, there's some questions about him. That's a pretty good replacement. So, in my gut tells me LA Galaxy is still going to take it, but I do think Red Bulls kind of have that FEA kind of attitude that Atlanta United was rolling with for a while because they don't have the pressure. Like they're clearly the underdog in this game, and they're going to go somewhere that's very hostile. And if Schwartz can get them kind of in that mindset of like, put out all the rest of the noise. Like we're here, we're going to do our thing and we're going to take down the Titan. Like they could do it for sure. They can frustrate the Galaxy enough. Kind of like Seattle did. And if they can nick one or two, then you're going to have a game for sure. But I just, that's a long shot. I still think it's going to be the Galaxy. And I see John in the chat. I said on our show the other day, I said 3-1 LA Galaxy.
Okay. Yeah. I could see it being 3-1. I think that you end up with the early goal from LAG. There were 2 goals from LAG. Then it gets to 2-1. Then Red Bulls are pushing. And then in transition, you get that one in the 90 plus 2. Where Joveljic is down and he gets it from Fagundes. Fagundes goes long over the top. The Bishop is there. He grabs it, puts it past Cornell 3-1. I could see something like that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think the biggest question for me with the Red Bulls is, again, it's just like where are the goals going to come from? Because, the goal in the Eastern Conference Final was beautiful. Like John Tolkien's ball into the box was like, to see Reyes go up for it, I was like, did he get a head on that or did it just hit the post and go in? And then you see the replay and it was like, 3 feet out from the post.
Yeah, because of the angle his head was at, he almost missed it.
Yeah, entirely. And then he heads it off the post and it goes in. And I was like, man, that was impressive.
Uh-huh.
That's where the Galaxy's, that's where the Galaxy can get punished because they have such bad set piece defending. So if the Red Bulls can get into some decent positions and, guys like Tolkien can put in those kind of balls into the box, especially for Reyes, I think he was the man of the match in both. Well, I don't know if he was the man of the match in the conference final, but in the semifinals, I believe he was. Either way, the guy's on a roll. And it doesn't matter where the goals come from, whether it's a defender or not. If you can catch LA Galaxy, in the final third with a good set piece, like it could change the game because they're not going to defend them well.
Best 11 was named, presented by a tire company that's not a sponsor here on the show, so we're not going to name it. Going from the back to the front, Christian Kalina in net, and I'm going to go through the 11. I want to see where you agree, disagree, and we'll go Hollywood Squares here. Defense, Jordi Alba, Yamar, and Steven Moreira from Crew. Your midfield, Lucho Costa, Evander, and Ricky Puig. Forwards, so apparently you're playing a 3-3-4 with the best 11. And your forwards, Benteke, Bouanga, Cucho, and Messi. So I mentioned that best 11 to you. What sticks in your brain from that best XI?
So the first thing was when I saw this yesterday, they have on Twitter, and I don't have the graphic in front of me, but they did those like caricature type pictures.
Yeah.
Ricky Puig looks like he's gonna host like ABC tonight or something. Like he's gonna go on and like be like Walter Cronkite reading the news for the next hour and a half.
Dancing with the Galaxy.
They did this man bad. I mean, I don't know. Nothing really super crazy. I mean, Christian Kalina deserves it. I think Jordi Alba gets thrown in there because of his assists and all, which is fine. I think people are just freaking tired of hearing about all of Inter Miami. And so I think, and I know that this guy named Pedro Amador wasn't there for the entire year, but this guy named Pedro Amador beat Jordi Alba in the playoffs. I'm just saying.
Yes.
So that one, I mean, Evander needed to be there. Ricky Puig needed to be there. Lucho. I think Lucho, this might be a hot take. I think Lucho could have been that instead of making yourself have a 3-3-4, whatever weird formation they had. I think Lucho could have been another somebody. Like, I think that place could have gone to a different position because you have all these midfielders in there. And Lucho, he yes, he had a great year. He always has a great year, but I just don't feel like it was best 11.
Okay.
You know, I just felt like there were other positions that maybe could have got a shout out. Messi's going to get it, whatever. Like, Cucho deserved it. Denny Bouanga is another one where I'm like, yeah, but you didn't make it into the playoffs very far. So, like, whatever. Your Golden Boot winner is going to have to be on there. Yeah. So, Christian Benteke, I'm good with. So, yeah, Denny Bouanga and Lucho, I think, were my two that I was like, I mean, are we just throwing in big names to throw in big names? Because there's other guys out there that probably could have got a little more credit.
Okay, so who? So since you want to remove those two, what two do you put in?
You know, they haven't thought that far ahead yet.
See?
Pedro Amador. I mean, I'm just saying, I know he's only here, but I feel like Pedro Amador deserved some things. And then I think, I mean, I know that he's won other awards, but I feel like Gabriel Peck should have been in there somewhere. And then let's see, Evander was in there. Who? Let's see.
So you actually want to put in, I think, a true 6 in that lineup. You've got all this scoring, and in this 3-3-4, and there's no 6. It's all just like everybody forward, and you know, it's just, you know, we're gonna score goals and throw everybody out there, and
which is unfair, by the way, to like, because you're always going to have a better chance of getting in something like a best 11 or any kind of award like that if you're an attacker, because, you know, a good midfielder doesn't tend to show up on all the highlight reels all the time.
True. That is absolutely.
So, like, you know, a Nagby could always be on the best 11. I mean, I'm trying to think of other legitimate 6s or even 8s that, like, you know, have had really good years, and I'm drawing a blank, but like,
just because they're like the offensive linemen of your favorite soccer team. You only hear about them when they make mistakes,
which is crap, and I hate that. Like, they need some loving, man, and I just feel like you just throwing big names in there to throw big names, and I just don't like that. Like Lucho Acosta, best 11 last year for sure. Denny Bouanga, absolutely last year. This year, yeah, they had great years, better than 95% of the other players out there, but I just don't know that those two needed it. Kind of bothers me.
Kind of bothers you. Kind of bothers you. I mean, all right. So you look at So let's take a peek, and I'm going down certain roads having to do with financials to see if it applies to anything, and loading up our favorite sixes. So I'm looking at market value, and looking at market value just to kind of get names. So, and they have Diego Gomez. It's a part of this. Attacking me. Okay, so Redondo is, and this is just value. This has nothing to do with what you did on the field. Legitimately, I'm now at page 2 because not a whole lot of sixes got paid a boatload of money. Attacking midfield, center midfield. Wow. Bart Sleesh, 46th in value at listed as a defensive midfielder. I mean, legitimately, you're gonna do some digging here to try to figure out Andres Kubas in Vancouver. So apparently Bart Sleece is mentioned twice at 46th and 51st when it comes to market value. So that's good to know, according to our friends at Transfermarkt. But no, I mean, I agree with you. A lot of the time when you're piecing this stuff together, A, it is a popularity contest, and B, when you're piecing things together, it's a lot of this. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's there. It's there, and you just want to see. It's like, I want to see goals. I want to see goals. But no, but you got to have the offensive lineman there. That's a part of the whole thing. So no, I understand where you're coming from. What other stuff happened on MLS Monday that folks need to know about and go back and watch?
Well, the big thing was we had Jake Zivin on, and he's going to be, him and TT are going to be calling the MLS Cup.
Yes.
So we had a good talk with him. We kind of went through both of the conference finals, and then got his thoughts on even the losing sides. He kind of went in depth with Seattle, and some of the defensive standouts that they had, and then the other side we didn't talk as much about because admittedly that game was boring. But
how much mentions of Messi and friends did he get into the conversation?
It wasn't that many. I think it was like 1 or 2 this time.
Okay.
Yep. And I made sure that we brought it back to Atlanta United in some way, shape, or form at some point.
Okay.
Because anytime anybody mentions Inter Miami from now on, I'm just going to refer to 2024 playoffs.
Okay. As you should.
Yeah, have to. But no, it was good. It was a good show. It was a relatively short show compared to what we normally do. So yeah, if y'all haven't seen it, it's a good preview.
Yes. So, Jarrett, we've been discussing pretty much everything, and we actually fixed Major League Soccer, by the way. We fixed the All-Star game. Now we have fixed the scheduling in Major League Soccer now, too.
All of it.
Does week 1 next year start with San Jose and the New England Revolution so that we can have Bruce Arena on an open mic with no delay getting asked questions about his time in New England?
Oh,
please. But you preface it though. Before the opening kick, Bruce Buffer is going to come out and announce everything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Kurt
Adolfo is 100% in that fight going into business for himself too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's because we're tired of the baloney. And if I need to just clip that particular part, I need to just clip that where he's, we're tired of the baloney instead of the whole minute 20 where he's discussing baloney. But yeah, we have decided once again, we went over with Don Garber signing the apparent contract extension. We went over the things that we would fix in Major League Soccer, and it lent itself to the home radio option, even when they're on the road. It lent itself to making sure that you had one particular train when it came to a double header situation like we had last week, where you're not having to duck in, duck out, duck in, duck out, duck in, duck out. So the metrics can be registered by Apple TV and just have it as one full string, and then owning Friday night, something that we've been talking about here forever. Those were, I think, our 3 big points, Jarrett, when it came to fixing Major League Soccer.
Yeah, I'd love to have the visiting radio call. The trick is, I'm not sure how many places have a consistent visiting radio call that they don't, use as like a third party. Like I think Toronto did that a couple times this year, where Or like MLS has the radio option. I think like at least a couple times, like Toronto like brought people in because they don't have like a dedicated. They don't always have a dedicated radio call, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So what do you do if there's nothing there? Like, does the league bring someone in just to call it? But then it doesn't feel as organic. It's kind of weird. Obviously, not everyone travels their radio calls as well. But I would like to hear more of it because I'm a firm believer in biased broadcast. If I want to hear a national broadcast more down the middle, maybe not 100%, because I don't believe that anybody goes into a game perfectly split down the middle. I think they go in with preconceptions, and it's almost impossible not to. You can listen to Taylor Twellman and hear that when he calls a game. It doesn't have to be your team. You can hear him and hear that he goes into the game with preconceived notions. I don't think he's the only one. This isn't me picking on Taylor Twellman specifically.
Oh, come on.
But I am a firm believer in biased broadcast being an absolute delight, whether it's your team or not. If you're going in as a complete neutral, I think that is one of the most fun things. Like, I don't really have a dog in the fight, pun intended, for UGA football. I like listening to UGA radio broadcast because they care, because they're emotional about it. It's fun to and not to pick on everybody too much in this state.
Come on.
The most fun things are when they're really good, and then when things go horribly wrong. Because hearing Scott Howard do, oh my God, oh no, he's throwing an interception,
blown Munson,
is right up there with the absolute elation in his voice when things go right.
Okay.
I want that bias in my broadcasts. I want to have the option to hear someone be completely biased at times and to be absolutely unhinged with how much they love or hate something that's happening, whether it is Atlanta, whether it is Toronto, whether it is Miami, Orlando. We know the people up in Charlotte with Willie P and Chess, wherever they are. Give me the option for a biased feral broadcast.
Okay. So it is now time for the hot tag. Tyler, quick plug. What's going on at SNS?
Website. We've got all the player reviews from 2024 coming out, every day, every other day. So go check those out, and then we have a survey that we're doing. So go check our X, Twitter, whatever, and do the survey, just because we're trying to get some ideas together and fix things and fine tune things. So that helps us.
All right. So that is Tyler. And Tyler, what's the mug this morning?
It's actually I had two, but the one I have now is ours.
Okay.
So, and it's coconut mocha. It was so good.
Okay. All right. So I will take your word for it since I'm not a coffee person. We will see
coconut mocha.
So good, Jarrett.
Brother, I'm not a coffee drinker in general. I will defer to you on these matters because I couldn't tell you whether it is or not, but I will 100% defer to you.
Yep. I'm right there with you. All right. Be good, my friend. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
All right. So there goes Tyler. So Dylan, coconut mocha, yay or nay?
Flavor generally, yay. I'm not like a plain coffee drinker guy. I would try it, but it wouldn't be in my like hazelnut is probably my 1 or 1B with French vanilla. I would go a caramel. I'd have to probably go pretty far down the pecking order to get to coconut mocha. But I listen. Respect.
Okay. Hey, look, I'm not like I'm with Jared. I'm not a coffee drinking person, but if you want to go down those roads,
you have your different flavors of Mountain Dew, though.
Okay. So, all right. So here's the deal with that. Once they strayed from the original, and I'm including diet in this, they have diluted their market share by themselves, and the rest of the flavors are awful. It is original for me or nothing. High calorie for me or nothing. The rest of them stink. They're horrendous. I can't lengthen that word out to any more syllables than I can. Horrendous.
So you're telling me I'm wasting my time whenever I send you in the production chat random Mountain Dews that I find at the store and then try them to find out that they're generally not very good.
Correct.
He will not do those dews.
Yeah. No, I will not.
I do the do for him, so he doesn't have to do the do.
Yes, absolutely true. It is no, I can't do it. I just simply can't.
Look,
'Cause
my digestive system was built growing up in the 90s and early 2000s on cheap Taco Bell and then Cookout eventually. Like Mountain Dew's not going to do jack squat to whatever's left of my like internal system. I have absolutely obliterated it with bad fast food over the years. It's desensitized at this point to bad Mountain Dew.
well, I mean, it's look, everything is desensitized to me. I just know that when you try and float a different flavor to me, and there's actually another new flavor and another new food coloring that I saw recently. I think it was like some pineapple mango.
Is it coconut mocha?
Close. It was some pineapple mango garbage that they're floating out there, and I'm like, no. This is what happens when you're bored in the lab and you come up with all of this different ish that is associated with all of this. No, it's just no.
See, I'm like that with and I don't know, maybe this will be controversial, I'm not sure, but I'm like that with Chick-fil-A. Like, just give me the OG.
Correct.
Like, it's great. I don't need the habanero. Like, I don't need. Do you want the deluxe? No, man. Just the OG. Do you need sauce? No, I don't need sauce. I don't need anything.
Just
correct.
Yeah, just give me the normal.
Because the school I went to for high school, like there were teachers in the hallways, growing up in Metro Atlanta, selling like coolers full of Chick-fil-A chicken biscuits every morning. Like everybody went to Chick-fil-A for breakfast and or lunch at different points.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's to the point now for me personally at 35 years old, Chick-fil-A is low down on my list of things I want to do because I got burned out by it from having it for the last however many years. It's just because it popped up on every corner.
It's newish. It's newish in the Northeast.
Yeah, and I think it's perfect. I think that's perfect for y'all. That y'all get to experience this. Are the people in the Northeast Chick-fil-A's as like unsettlingly kind as they are down here? Like the people behind the counter?
Yeah, like it has to. And it's funny because like they'll have these kids, come out and take your orders in the drive-through. Like you're not getting it at the window. Like they're meeting you before the window. And it's like cold outside, and they're like, "Hi, can I take your order?" I'm like, I feel bad for them. I'm like, my inner dad comes out. I'm like, "Go get warm."
Yes. Why don't you have a bigger jacket on? What's wrong with you?
You're gonna catch your death of cold.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because like the contrast for me is like we'll go to you go to Chick-fil-A. I'll get my daughter loves chicken minis. I'll get them like on Saturday morning. And so like we'll get those. Those are great. Like everyone here is so unfailingly kind on Saturday morning when no one really needs to be awake or nice.
Yeah, I feel like it must be like it's almost like when you go to basic training for the Marines, right? And like they break you down and then they build you up. Like it must be something like that with Chick-fil-A where like
it's gotta be.
They tear down the usual sort of blondness or whatever that you're bringing, and especially in New York, like that edge or that attitude, and they cut that away and they make you this nice robot.
Well, is it or the point that I just made on X, because Alex says they aren't local kids, they're exported from the South. Is it kind of like being on a I
haven't heard the accents. I don't.
Is it like being on Mormon mission?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Well, but this is the argument that I had yesterday.
I don't know what they do on Sundays, so
yeah, that's when the indoctrination classes are.
Yeah.
I had this argument yesterday on X with somebody that I'm a firm believer that we should export Waffle House to the rest of the planet.
Oh.
And when we do so, like, hey, do y'all want to move to another country? Because if we put Waffle House like in Europe, what we're going to need to do there is we're going to need to bring people from the South to run said Waffle House, because we need, first off, we're going to need you to be able to smoke a pack a day while you're flipping eggs and staring at everyone angrily. We have to not just export the food, we have to export the attitude and the general dislike of the people you're serving.
I'm fairly certain that's all. I'm fairly certain that's all part of the new, with the new leadership coming in January. I think that's all part of the world domination.
Oh,
is to just get Waffle Houses into different countries and suddenly you're a believer, you're a follower.
That would be amazing if that
would
went
be.
down.
But the best contrast is still, you go to Chick-fil-A, everyone's so nice. You go across the street to a Popeyes, and it's just a level of hostility that you didn't know existed outside of a very uncomfortable Thanksgiving dinner.
Correct. See, this is what you get into with all these different fast food restaurants. You have to navigate the tone and the tenor going into the building. But no, I completely understand where all
not too far from Dylan Butler Estates.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Aren't you having a groundbreaking?
I am. Yeah, I'll let them do it today. It's too cold for me to be out there, so they can decide to get through the frozen ground that is outside. But not too far from there in Jackson Heights, there used to be a White Castle, right? Exactly, right. That's everyone's. They got rid of it, and they put in a Popeyes.
Oh no.
The Popeyes is directly across the street from a KFC. Like on two sides of Northern Boulevard, and it's not even like it's like 4 lanes of traffic each way. It's like 2 lanes. KFC on one side, Popeyes on the other, where White Castle used to be.
Man.
I know.
Oh, boy. What's the mug this morning, by the way?
Blessed.
Okay. He's blessed to have a groundbreaking this morning.
Yeah.
For Dylan.
I've never had a White Castle because we always had down here was Crystal, which is taking your life in your own hands to eat at Crystal at any given moment.
Same for White Castle. I'm not gonna.
But I've heard it's better. Like that it's somehow something they're doing different and better. That's just what I was always told. It's like, oh, if you like Crystal, you'd love White Castle. It's like, isn't it the same? Like, actually, it's better.
Well, and it's also different because when you go to White Castle, you can actually have an A1 White Castle, where you can't have an A1 Crystal. They literally have
it's like meat quality.
No, it's like literally what they do is you have your standard White Castle burger, but you have A1 sauce on it. As opposed to
okay.
Mustard, yeah. So
see, that's what someone a friend of mine he I don't know how deeply he went into this, but he was like, you know what makes you not feel well after eating White Castles is their ketchup. Like you ask for it without ketchup, and even just get a ketchup packet if you wanted, because that way it's not like the big jug of ketchup or something. He was trying to explain some sort of chemistry.
Well, and I could, because that ketchup is out in the air in the environment, and it's room temperature, and it's out there for an elongated period of time. I get that. So no, I understand where that's coming from. But yeah, when I would go to the southernmost White Castle in the United States in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, on my way to Middle Tennessee State or on my way to Nashville, you peel off, it's right off of the interstate. You go and you get an A1 White Castle, and instead of the room temperature ketchup or the room temperature mustard, they put A1 on it. And so that way, for me, it was a lot better off for me to have that as an option that you don't get at Crystal, because I'm sure that if you try, it's like, can I have an A1 Crystal? They'd look at you like, what? It's like, what are you talking about? So welcome to Wall Pass Wednesday. We're halfway through the segment with Dylan, and we haven't even touched soccer yet.
Hey, there's also there's an MLS Cup final this week.
I've heard.
There is. That's what I've heard.
That is not involving Messi and friends, and it drives people crazy when we mention that particular club, although they did name their new head coach, and Javier Mascherano, who admitted that he had taken the job once before and then backed out. So Messi and friends have a new head coach. Luis Suarez is a contract extension. They got to figure out how they're going to continue to navigate name, image, and likeness and the salary cap and all those kinds of things to try to make another push. Club World Cup, we'll get into that after in the next half hour, because the pots are out. They've got a TV partner, all those kinds of things. LAG, Ricky Puig, no Ricky Puig, because he blew out his ACL with
Greg Jennings
with 30 minutes to go and continued to play on it and contributed to the game-winning goal for LAG over Seattle. LAG's hosting. How do you think they tackle this without Ricky Puig?
Like the easy answer would be Royce, but he also is not healthy. So I would say you're more likely, like if I were to put a shilling or a shekel on it, I would say Diego Fagundes is in the 11. He's filled in for Pooch before, has done a great job. MLS veteran, has been on this stage before. He will not be rattled by the situation. Look, he's not Ricky, right? Nobody else is, but I think he would do a solid job in that role.
And with Red Bulls, what we talked about with Tyler in hour number 1, when we actually did talk soccer, had to do with the idea that they are different with Emil Forsberg than without Emil Forsberg. And this is a much sounder, well-rounded, more offensively based club with Emil Forsberg kind of turning the screws than when they don't have him. You've got to see the different Red Bulls with him than without him.
Yeah, and I think it's a combination, right? It's Forsberg in, slight tweak tactically in the back, right? Like with the 5 or the 3 center backs, if you will. And then the 2 wing backs, they'll push up and they'll press, but also they've become a lot more direct in the sense where, they're getting it out right away, which is more kind of we're used to with Red Bull ball, but they're winning the first and second balls in midfield, and then they're going, and now they have a Forsberg to play those balls, right? To push those balls forward. If there's a foul on a second ball, that's one. Now you've got Forsberg in a dangerous situation to hit a free kick, right? He also is a guy, what do we associate most with Red Bull soccer, right? Like just 100 miles an hour, like NASCAR car crashes, right?
Yeah.
He's the guy who will put his foot on the brake and he'll put his foot on the ball and slow it down when it needs to be slowed down too. So, he's that guy. He's the guy the fans clamored for the front office to finally spend some money in the offseason. They did that. And another guy, he won't be rattled by the situation, right? Like he's played in World Cups. He's played on Champions League nights with the beautiful music playing. He's done it all. He's played in the Bundesliga, obviously, at a high level. So I think a great moment for him for sure. If Red Bulls are to do anything in this, Forsberg is going to be involved somehow, right? He's going to play a big ball forward. He's going to hit a free kick. He's going to play a factor should the Red Bulls pull the upset.
Share it on the Wall Pass Wednesday. Go for it.
And I know we'll get more into what LA does, what LA is doing at any given moment, but I want to ask you about, because it is your turf up there in New York, about Sandro Schwartz and not just getting them to this point of getting them to a cup final, but the changes that were, not just on the field, but like culturally that may have happened in the last year when Sandro Schwartz comes in, takes over this squad, and kind of, it seems like they're more evolved in the way they play. There were moments where in the past, it kind of felt like, hey, if you can just punt it down into their corner, if you're willing to just not have the ball, you can kind of limit them. But, you talked about Forsberg giving them that added dimension and being that game-breaking player. But it feels from a distance like Sandro Schwartz helped also kind of change the culture a bit and get things moving in the right direction for that club.
Yeah, and I think too, what he's done maybe better than others before him is he's given a clear plan B, right? Or even a plan C, like I mentioned, right? Like they've gone to 3 in the back now. Like, so they played one way at the start of the year, wasn't working, right? So maybe in other iterations of the Red Bulls, you're like, we got to keep going. It's gonna work eventually, right? And they weren't maybe comfortable in a plan B, right? I remember Chris Armas, when he was the head coach, was talking to me about, trying to get the team to be more comfortable on the ball, which is exactly what Sandro Schwartz is doing here as well. But they weren't at the time because they were so used to the one way of playing, right? So I think what Sandro has done is he's made this team more comfortable playing in different ways. And like I said, in the postseason, it's been now less on the ball and more route one and more first and second balls being won. And now a difference maker, up in the attack. And by the way, Completely nothing to do with any of that. But since it's the well past Wednesday, you got to love a head coach in an Eastern Conference final wearing a trucker hat.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Dude, when's the last time that has happened? Right? Like, coaches with trucker hats are now 1-0 in Eastern Conference finals.
I legitimately
The
thought
stats don't lie.
No, I thought it was a Von. I legitimately thought it was a Von Dutch lid. I legitimately did.
That was so awesome.
And it turns out that it's an Adidas hat.
Yeah.
Adidas is making trucker hats for coaches.
Loved it.
Adidas, what have you done with Adidas? You're catering to the trucker hat element of us all.
I want to bring in sort of like this overarching big sort of overlooking thing here in the final, which I thought, at least, I don't know, was interesting. Maybe you guys won't, but so 2 MLS originals, right?
Yeah.
On either side of the two coasts. Both had a noisy neighbor come into town.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Both of those noisy neighbors then played better than the originals, right? And they got like there's a lot of people who were Red Bull fans who were just disenfranchised. They were like, we're done. Like these guys are not, and they went to become NYCFC fans. And the LAFC comes in, Vela, they're playing sexy football, and NYCFC is doing their thing. They're inside the city. LAFC are inside the city. These other 2 teams are in the suburbs. And they both win MLS Cups, right? So now both of these clubs, these MLS originals, are like, Christ, we got to do something here. Like we've got to, become that team again in our area. And that's kind of like what we're seeing here. Obviously, LAFC going for a record 6th MLS title, and Red Bull's looking for their first. But I thought it was kind of interesting, the journey, I guess, if you will, off the field, or I guess on the field as well, but just, for the hearts and minds kind of thing, in their respective areas.
That almost sounds like a story that could be written.
Almost
for a website, maybe. You mentioned, we talked about the injury situation with LAG and who's probably going to have to be focused on so they can function, and who the subs would be. Below the radar for Red Bulls, I know we all sit there and the shiny object is Emil Forsberg. For you, who do we need to focus on to determine sustained success in MLS Cup for Red Bulls outside of Emil Forsberg? Who else would it be?
Yeah, I mean, I think the midfield is going to be really interesting. I think a Daniel Edelman is gonna have to run his socks off in the midfield and really, help win a lot of those balls in the midfield and break up, the best attack in MLS, right? We could say it, or certainly in the postseason. And then they showed it during the regular season, obviously too. But I think he's going to be key. I think of John Tolkien as well, right? Like on both sides of the ball, he's going to come up as a wing back. He's going to press. He's going to try to make, Paintsell and Peck's life a living heck. And then also play incredible balls like he did to the back post to Reyes, right? So, and I got to shout out my Long Islanders, man, the Nealis brothers. Massapequa strong. And by the way, if you guys are ever in Massapequa, I don't know when that would happen. Going back, right? A terrific burger place. They're all American burgers.
See,
it's like super, super old school. Like you would expect someone to come out on roller skates to deliver your order. Like you would expect. I mean, it's not like a diner. Like it's not like the Fonz is in there, like hitting the jukebox. But it has that kind of a vibe of the shake and the burger. Great place, right in the middle of Massapequa, and the Nealis boys will both be also very, very busy defensively. Again, trying to slow down this vaunted LAG attack.
Well, I think all the Nealis brothers have to do is just stand still and turn into human roadblocks.
Yeah, let
Otherwise,
them bounce off you.
AKA be normal.
Yeah.
Because they are the two most frustrating individuals that you could have on the field if you're Sandro Schwartz, because they don't just go up to the edge, they go over the edge, and then they'll stare at Guido Gonzalez and sit there and go, you got to do something about it. That's just how they're wired. And I think that that's an early emotional test, I think, for LAG is, having those enforcers like the Nealis boys. I feel like I've just gone to the corner of 87th and 3rd. Hey, get the Nealis boys out here. One of those kind of things.
Listen, you're behind in your bills. All right, like you owe us a few. You don't want the Nealis boys coming.
Now, one of those has the old wooden Louisville Slugger, and he's sitting there and he's tapping it in the other hand. But I mean, they
got the leather jackets on.
Absolutely true.
Yes.
And they're the two guys that are sitting there and they're doing this, and you're hearing Dropkick Murphys in the background, and they're going to drive you crazy and force you into, and they're going to force Guido Gonzalez into a decision about, okay, do I card? Do I let it go? I think that that's another subplot in this. Where's the line? How does Guido ride the line? And because you don't want cards to dictate it, but you can't let it go. And I think that the Nealis boys, them Nealis boys, might be an early challenge emotionally for LAG.
I think it's a fair shout. And I think, though, if I'm Red Bull, like, I'm not as worried about them and their enforcer physical nature. I'm more worried about Reyes in that grouping, because like the Nealis boys will toe the line. I think like they'll show the bat, like you're saying,
hey,
and Reyes will take it out of their hands and just hit someone in the ankles with it. So
ow. Jarrett, what else is on your mind for Dylan as we preview MLS Cup and Dem Nealis boys and leather jackets and baseball bats and everything?
Honestly, Reyes was going to be the next thing, because like if you told me we get another game where we're watching like Reyes probably shouldn't, he should probably have three or four yellow cards by now, and then he just scored a header. That's fun. If we get another one of those games, I wouldn't be surprised. But it's something that we talk about a lot, Dylan, that these kind of games, playoff games in general, but especially a game like this, it's a cup final, the longer it goes scoreless, who breaks first? And I would tell you, I'm interested to see who handles their business psychologically with a tight game late.
Yeah, and you know what? If it wasn't for what we just saw last weekend, I would have said that's advantage Red Bull. But look what LAG just did against Seattle, right? Seattle played that, right? They played that perfectly. Like, it was scoreless for as long as it was, and then the 85th minute, Pooch with one meniscus plays that ball, right? And Jovic puts it away. So I think if you're LAG, you're like, we just saw this. So if we get into the second half and it's scoreless, if we're frustrated that we're missing our chances, we're frustrated that there's a ton of foul, like, they were just in this game. So I think being at home and having played that, I think that's an advantage for them.
It's Groundhog Day. Yeah, literally. It's like,
by the way, I was there the only time the Red Bulls were in MLS Cup.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was covering them for MLSsoccer.com, and it's funny because, like, you get MLS. I feel like more than any other sport, right? Like, it's interesting. It's still a young league, obviously, right? It's 29 years old.
Yeah,
but you get fans who pop in at certain moments, and they don't. I guess no. You know what? It's probably the same. Like, I think if you're an NFL fan, do you know who Gail Sayers is? Probably not, right? Like, or Walter, Payton.
see, you got to know who Walter Payton is, though.
You do, but you probably don't, right? If you're like a newer fan. So, so you maybe don't realize their journey that they had in 2008, but they had to make the playoffs on the last day of the regular season. They had to go they were put on the Western Conference side
Mhm.
as
The
a
best part of
wild
it.
card.
Explain to people how that happened.
Yeah, that's hard to explain, but
Yes, true.
then they take on a Dynamo team. So this year they played the Crew, who were the defending champions, right? That
Mhm.
was a 2-time defending Dynamo team, right? Like the height of the Dynamo. And it was a KG first match. And then I was there in Houston, like at Robertson Stadium, and John Wolniak scores late and like
Wow.
does the Thriller dance. Like,
Wow.
it was insane. Like, the one at the time, you're like, that's the biggest upset maybe that could have been, right? Then they go to Real Salt Lake. They get an early goal from Dave Vandenberg. And then Real Salt Lake, I think, might have hit 27 posts. And by the way, freezing that night at in Sandy.
I'm shocked, sir.
And then suddenly, boom, they're an MLS Cup. And on the other side is Siggy Schmidt and Columbus Crew, who won the Shield, who had never won Cup. It was, and obviously Red Bull fans were like, this is it. This is our moment. We've been waiting. Not nearly as long as they've been waiting now, but they were waiting. And yeah, that Cup final obviously didn't go their way, but that was also at I think at the time it was the Home Depot Center.
Yeah.
They've gone through numerous name changes there, but I think it was Home Depot Center at the time.
I think you're right.
But it was funny. I stayed out west. Like, it was like Salt Lake was like a Saturday, and then a lot of the availability started like on a Wednesday, and I'm like,
Screw it.
Go cross country home? Do I just stay out here? So I just I didn't go to LA early. I just stayed out in Salt Lake. Actually got to hang out a little bit with my boy Chris Wingert, and had a meal with him and Beckerman, and it was fun. It was cool. But I didn't like. I don't think I packed for LA. Like, I packed for Salt Lake.
Uh-oh.
So I had to do some shopping out in LA, which, not the worst place, I guess, in the world to go.
Well,
shopping.
the further away you go from downtown, and you actually can have, like the outlet mall in Carson, where you can actually pay for things and not go bankrupt when you want to shop for things. I think that's pretty much it. What are your broadcast observant plans for the last game of the year in Major League Soccer?
Yeah, I'm on the desk. So working MLS desk, and just hoping for a great final, obviously. We've been treated some pretty good ones these last few years. Do styles make the fight in this one? Obviously, two very, very different styles. You hope it does. But yeah, in a year where everyone thought Messi would be in it, in a year that everyone maybe thought, maybe the Crew would outlast Messi, and maybe LAFC would take on the Crew again. It's not the final that a lot of people maybe thought it would be or hoped it would be, but I think let's hope it's a really good final. So I will be on the desk among others Saturday afternoon.
All right. So that means that you get to come back this time next week, and we'll talk about the last game of the regular season in Major League Soccer, senior superlatives, and anything else that comes to mind. It was great to see you, my friend. I know that things finally get the chance to slow down to a dull roar when it came to the high school side.
Yeah. Football season, at least for us, is done, and we're getting inside to hoops. What is today? The 4th. 11 days from now, I got my first broadcast. So.
Okay. So Varsity Media on the YouTubes in 11 days, starting on 12-15-24. So it's always great to see you, my friend. Continue to be blessed, and we will catch up with you as you observe from afar your groundbreaking over at Dylan Butler Estates for the undersized, fully automated live, work, play environment that is going to be the new home of NYCFC.
That's it.
Be good, my
boys.
We'll see you next week. All right. So there goes. Dylan is going to enjoy what's left of that mug. All right, so we got a little bit of this that we got to get into here in a second. I mean, cue things up appropriately. You know how we were wondering about the Club World Cup and how we were going to watch it?
Sure.
We don't have to wonder anymore
Oh, joy.
because FIFA has confirmed that it is going to pair up with DAZN to air.
The Zone?
Yeah, DAZN, DAZN.
Oh, DAZN. I'm thinking like the ESPN Zone from the late 90s that was
not like the
downtown.
restaurant. Yeah, not the restaurant.
Oh, my God. That would have been even better.
Yeah, it would have been. But apparently, for those of us who have every blanking streaming service known to mankind, we now know that it's going to be DAZN that will be broadcasting the Club World Cup.
Okay. Great.
DAZN has agreed to a €1 billion deal to host the inaugural edition of the Club World Cup. DAZN will air all 63 matches to 200 markets, free to air, and this is from our buddy Ben Jacobs over at Gimme Sports. There are also expected to be sub-licensed deals to local networks, quoting Gianni Infantino, who I guess today he feels...
Today he feels like he could just shut the hell up, but he won't because he
clubby.
doesn't. We're not that lucky.
Quoting Gianni Infantino, quote, "Through this agreement, billions of football fans worldwide can now watch the most widely accessible club football tournament ever for free." Quoting DAZN Chief Executive Officer Shay Segev, "This groundbreaking deal with FIFA is a major milestone in DAZN's journey to be the ultimate entertainment platform of choice for sports fans everywhere. We're delighted to have the exclusive rights to this new chapter in global club football, making the start of our long-term relationship with FIFA and cementing our status as the home of football," end quote.
The only thing that would make this feel like more like it's going to end up being like a collapsing fraud in the future is if the person who founded it was on Forbes' 30 under 30.
Well, full disclosure, I'd love to know how I could access DAZN.
Don't worry about it. It's watch there be an issue and DAZN is just going to subsidiary off of somebody else. You can watch it through, I don't know, Fanatis or something.
FNTZ.co/soccer down here if you don't have Fanatis, by the way, because it helps them out. It helps us out. You continue to be a true degenerate in watching things off of all the BNs, Nuestra Tele, CDO, For the Fans, Teise, our buddy Nino Torres and Gold TV, where you can watch Uruguay and Portugal and a bunch of other places, Liga 1, Liga 1 Max Pro. Fanatis, FNTZ.co/soccer down here. But yeah, so apparently the Club World Cup is paired with DAZN. I have no earthly idea how to access it on my smart TV, so we will see how it continues to be sub-licensed going forward and figure out how we can watch the Club World Cup in all of its glory, or just go and check it out in person downtown in Atlanta as we go. So there's that. Javier Mascherano, we mentioned the Dylan Butler Estates groundbreaking, which I believe is later this morning or going on right now. I forget. But the groundbreaking is going on at Dylan Butler Estates for the 25,000-seat live-work-play environment, your new home of NYCFC, which is still completely and totally undersized for what it should be. That's just me thinking out loud. Javier Mascherano was introduced as the new head coach for Messi and Friends yesterday. And so the era for him now begins for Messi and Friends. Yesterday afternoon, I was about to say last night, but yesterday afternoon, there was an event in women's soccer. I don't know if you've heard about it, but
women's soccer, yes, I have. We've talked about it a fair amount.
Yes, and yesterday the women's national team had a match that happens to be the last international match in the history of Alyssa Nair's storied career.
Am I crazy in feeling like this didn't get as much fanfare as like?
Mm-hmm.
Am I crazy?
Not crazy. No, not crazy.
I feel like it didn't get nearly as much fanfare as it should have, considering Alyssa Nair has been an absolute assassin between the pipes.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is and legitimately, I think because it was dropped on us right before these two matches that were overseas to where you couldn't sit there and go, well, I'd kind of like to have a proper send-off for Alyssa Nair, but that doesn't seem like that's her style, Yeah. It's like, I want to go out there, I want to do my thing, I want to go kick some ass and, and chew some bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum, And it's like, okay, these last two matches are it. And it's like, holy ish, man. It's like no warning. And you end up with what happened yesterday against the Netherlands. And sure enough, Alyssa Nair had to have her moments where she was Alyssa Nairing all over the place. But early on, once again, courtesy of our friends at TNT and U.S. Soccer, the Netherlands actually took the lead.
Dominic Janssen, one of the targets, forward from the back there as this one is swept in towards the back post. Vela Borman with a first career international goal to give the Netherlands the lead.
And that was 1-0 the Netherlands. But once again, we pick up our Ticonderoga number 2 pencil and sit there and wave it in the camera and go, not so fast, my friend. Because right before the half, you got an equalizer on an own goal from the Netherlands, and a familiar name was credited with the OG. Not really something that you want to get credit for. Here's how it was evened up at 1 apiece.
Dutch starting 2024 with 3 straight defeats before going unbeaten in the last 8. They failed to score in the first 3 games of the year, losing to Spain, Germany and Italy. Davidson hoisting this one high into the box, and that's been put behind for an own goal. It's 1-1. It's an own goal with 90 seconds left of the first half.
And that is incredible. One shot on goal. And the score, given what the Dutch team has done in this first half, and that's where they're going to go in and say, how, with all the looks we've had, is this game at 1-1? And that is Janssen, I believe, number 20, the center back, who goes down and it deflects. No, sorry.
Goal scorer. Borman.
Yes, Borman off of her head as Janssen ducks down. And there it is. How unlucky for Borman and how very fortunate.
So then it was 1-1. But then in the second half, you get the substitutions dialed in. Emma Hayes taps a couple of folks on the shoulder. One of them gets the dividend of it all. Actually, both of them do. But here's your 2-1 game winner, eventual game winner, once again, courtesy of our friends at TNT, Max, and U.S. Soccer.
For Jane Campbell, there's only 29 caps amongst the next 4 goalkeepers.
And Emma Hayes does have time.
She does have 2.5 years, yes.
Which is a little more than she had before the Olympics. Yasmin Ryan towards the edge of the box. Williams is in the middle. It's played it for Williams! The United States in front, and Lynn Williams has the goal with 20 minutes left to play.
So that would be the eventual final score, 2-1, and that is it for the career of Alyssa Nair internationally. Obviously, if you want to catch her in Chicago for the Stars, they're no longer red, they're just Stars. So it is the Chicago Stars in NWSL. You can catch her there. Handed the captain's armband for the occasion, and it was 6 saves, 2 reaction dives on the night. One was late to keep it 1-1 before that eventual game winner with 20 to go. So we go over the grades. Alyssa Nair gets an 8 on the day, obviously. Frankly, since it was her last international appearance, I would have given her like a 72 just because. Defense, Emily Fox, Tierna Davidson got 4s. Naomi Girma got a 5. Jenna Neiswanger a 3 in the midfield. Corbin Albert got a 3. Lindsey Horan a 4. Sam Coffey a 5. And once again, these are our ratings from Soccer America. Go to the Soccer for US POD with Bart Keeler. He'll be looking at these a little bit more in depth as we go. Forwards, Yasmin Ryan once again showing that Emma Hayes' faith in her is rewarded. Yasmin Ryan gets a 6. Jaden Shaw, Rose Lavelle get 4s. But then the subs. Lynn Williams and Emily Sonnet 7s. Alyssa Thompson, Hal Hirschfeld 6s, along with Lily Johannes, who got booed in the building because of her national team choice. And Allie Sentner got another cup of coffee for her second cap in her career. The U.S. has conceded first in 4 of its past 6 matches against the Netherlands, but the Americans have not lost in any of those. 2 wins and 2 draws. Now unbeaten in 20 straight for the 16th time in team history. and the 4th time since 2020, regrouping in 2025 for a training camp in January before hosting She Believes in February. 22 shots for the Netherlands, 5 for the U.S., 4 of them on target, 2 in the back of the net, 7 shots on target for the Netherlands, 6 saves for Alyssa Nair compared to 3, 9 corners for the Netherlands, no corners for the U.S., 16 fouls in the day, 10 called on the U.S., 6 offside, 4 for the U.S., possession 57-43 to the Netherlands. And to your point, Jared, I mean, legitimately, I think true to Alyssa Nair, it's just like, yep, I'm done. These 2, and I'm done. She got to do it away from the pomp and circumstance of the United States, because if that had happened here, it would have been floats and fireworks and testimonials and roasts and all of this. She got to do it in a very quiet way, overseas, away from the United States, and now it's going to be the tour in the NWSL for the Chicago Stars, where she ends up getting the rocking chairs and all of the accolades next season in the NWSL, but not with the national team.
Yeah, it's like I said, it just feels very weird. Because like you had the issue where there's like this gap with this gap with the national team after Hope Solo implodes, called what it is.
Yes.
And Alyssa Nair just kind of slots in there, takes those moments, provides stability. You'll find the goalkeeper. It's the U.S. U.S. always finds the goalkeeper.
Yes.
But man, like, yeah, it just kind of felt like it was kind of downplayed that this was the end of her era, and maybe that's the way she wanted it.
Yeah.
So it might have been her preference. It just kind of feels weird from like looking at it from the outside. But
yeah.
You're also in a transitional period with a lot of players on that national team.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And so and it was the point that was made in the last highlight before that transition opportunity that was created by Yaz Ryan and Lynn Williams to get the eventual game-winning goal, that Emma Hayes has 2.5 years to figure it out who's going to be the starting keeper, because the 4 keepers behind Alyssa Nair only have a combined 29 national caps. So you got a little time to figure it out, and it's going to be one of the most intriguing position group battles I think that we've had in a long time when it comes to U.S. soccer. Who's going to take over in this position? Who's going to be the one that asserts themselves to be I want to be the number 1 keeper on the women's national team side? And obviously we'll talk to Bart on Monday about this whole thing too. But now it's a chance for somebody to step forward. And I am really looking forward to this position battle. And we talk about this in other sports. But, quarterbacks and things like that, when you have quarterback controversies, et cetera, I'm looking forward to this. I want to see who steps forward and who wants to take the reins here to be that person for what could be, 2 World Cup cycles, the next 9 years, and however you want to let it ride,
That's the thing, is we can talk all day about, who it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But what it comes down to is this will be my last.
Your
statement.
Irish almost goodbye.
Yeah, it's not quite an Irish goodbye. It's almost, though. But it's not about who we think it should be. Who wants to grab it? Because you can say the so and so is they're destined to be next. Well, destiny doesn't mean jack squat sometimes.
Mm-mm.
Someone's going to go grab those minutes.
Yep.
Who's going to do it?
Yep, absolutely.
We'll find out.
Most certainly. All right, so tomorrow, once again, it is open hour number 1. We'll talk things. Hour number 2 is the Power Hour with Nino and Nico. We'll catch up with you when we see you, right?
Yep.
All right, there goes
Sure.
Jared. So there goes Jared. Jared is he's gone. He gone. So Jared's out the door. Now it's time to catch up with you guys. And so trying to remember we're talking about all the college stuff. So I'm trying to balance that out as well. And I'm trying to catch up with our friends from SCAD, because they play tomorrow in their tournament. And so we're chasing after Dalton State, chasing after SCAD. We had Columbus State on yesterday, and it was good to catch up with Jay Entlick and find out what's going on in Columbus. They are Saturday afternoon in Columbus, 3:00, Walden Soccer Complex, and they're taking on the University of West Florida. They're taking on the Argos, and that is in the round of 8 in Division II on the women's side. SCAD is still going in their tournament. It is who else am I missing? SCAD is going on, and Dalton State is still going on, And Emory is still going on. They're heading to Las Vegas, and they're going to be playing there over the weekend. So that's where we are right now. Once again, tonight, UPSL. It is championship action with Maddie and myself from Shiloh High School. So set your notifications and get ready on YouTube for that from our friends at ASMG, and we'll let you see what's going on there with them. And it is Kalanji and Dalton United tonight. Maddie and I are on the call for that. I will be literally screaming into the booth because of the signing day special that is going on at 4 o'clock. We're going 4 to 5 on GPB social media platforms, Matt Stewart and myself. Today is National Signing Day for high school football athletes, and they get to apply their wares and their sponsorships and their NILs and figure out who wishes to have them. Let's see, how do we phrase this? Compensate for their services. How about that? So let's do it that way. So that is from 4 to 5. Then I leave here. Actually, I leave Georgia Public, come here, make sure that the boss man goes outside for a walk, feed him, leave here, go to Shiloh for the UPSL game with Maddie, then come back here tonight. And so that's Thursday. All right, so let's catch up. Let's catch up on all of you guys and what you guys had to say this morning. And as we fixed everything involving Major League Soccer. So morning, Abby, morning, 4Card, morning, Alex. And Abby said nobody was at Sam's Club this morning, and Abby's son's car is frozen over. And Abby's definitely glad she parks in a garage. Morning, Harry. Yeah, man up. Yeah, for the manning up for the furry family. Someone has buried his head in his bed, and that's where he is. See, Michael has a tee time in 8 minutes. Played golf yesterday, and see, but that's the thing. Michael's very smart. What Michael does is he has his tee times where there's actual ample sunlight out. Not like early in the morning where you're shrouded by trees, and if you hit it out of the center of the fairway, you're in trouble and you're cold. But no, Michael's smart. Michael's got a tee time in 8 minutes. Toward the heat of the day, middle of the day, noontime sun, good work, done by 3, and he gets back home to hang out with the boss. Morning, Will. And Will says his morning starts because this got into the morning discussion about everything that, when you wake up and having to wear 9 layers of clothing and all this kind of stuff. And I'm still wearing about 8.5 of them as we do the show. Will's morning starts when the coffee machine starts to pour. Let's see. Yeah. Michael thought he would never hear the lyrics from I Want to Be a Cowboy from Rubber Rodeo. Hey, man, kids of the 80s. Yo, yo, yo. Absolutely. That's the way it is. Michael and Abby, not fans of the Apple deal. And we got into the big discussion about how we save the new TV contract and how we make it better with Don Garber coming under a contract extension through 27. It will be I will be interested to see how Apple TV's 10-year, $2.5 billion relationship works with Major League Soccer. And then, right now it is a contract with Don Garber that works its way through the 26 World Cup, right to the edge of the CBA agreement, collective bargaining agreement, the CBA with the players. Who does Don Garber continue in 27? Because I believe he will be in his early 70s at that point. How much longer does he envision himself being commissioner? Who takes over? Who would be interested in becoming the next commissioner in Major League Soccer? I know it's a question a couple of years down the road, but what kind of individual would Major League Soccer be looking for? Would the owners be looking for to take over and be the new commissioner after the 26 World Cup, whenever that is? That is a question that we file away for a couple of years. Let's see. So Will and Abby says, love that MLS had to redo all their playoff spots because they didn't have all the teams, and Messi and friends went out early. Michael admits that the Apple deal is great for the season ticket holders and it stinks for everybody else. Morning, Gabe. Nothing like having part of the SDH family watching. Gabe Schrei. It's always good to see Gabe when we go up to Chattanooga and see things with Chattanooga FC, and when Gabe drifts down here to call WPSL action. But it's good to have Gabe here as a part of it all this morning. Morning to the 5-stripe DAWG dog. And Michael had a point about metrics. So we don't get to really see a whole lot of numbers. Ropes is in this morning. He's also calling a 3-1 LAG final. And yes, Abby, we're reminding everybody that it's either Messi and Friends. Messi and Friends play at the Erector Set in Fort Lauderdale. Until they move into their new stadium over by MIA, to me, it's still Messi and Friends, and they still play at the Erector Set. Michael, as an Auburn fan, nothing better than listening to Munson when Auburn was beating Georgia. Alex, Homer Cast is always the best. Used to love listening to Mad Dog Mandich on Radio Color because it was Jimmy Cephalo and Mad Dog Mandich. Jimmy Cephalo would Mad Dog Mandich. He would be color, and Cephalo parlayed his career as a wide receiver into working for NBC and then the local NBC sports anchor down in Miami. And I've got Jimmy Cephalo and Mad Dog Mandich cards around all over the place. Then we got into the discussion about burgers and White Castle, and Abby's recommending going to the freezer section to get your White Castle. It's not the same, though. It's being put on the grill and having them cook it yourself. Let's see. So, and Alex is mandating that every youngin, or because all NFL fans should be forced to watch at least 10 years worth of NFL films. Absolutely true, especially with the voice of John Facenda. Absolutely true. Right there with you. Slow motion, grainy film from the Sables with a jaunty march playing under the baritone voice of John Facenda. Absolutely true. Absolute perfection. You are not wrong. And Gabe's like, tuned in while writing social content this morning. You were writing social content. Allenbaugh or Altcheck? Oh, wow. Jeremy Allenbaugh or Altcheck? Wow. Those are blasts from the past from Chattanooga. Welcome first and foremost, BU7MD from the UAE. They want to know what we think about Al Nasser in the Saudi Arabian League. We look at the Saudi League, but we really don't pay a whole lot of attention to it. We'll sit there and look at. I want to see. It's obviously they've won the most. And Al Nasser had Pity Martinez. And we followed them when Pitti was transferred from Atlanta United to Al Nasser. And so that was our first inroad into the Saudi League was when Pity Martinez went over. And we kind of followed Al Nasser at that point. Al Nasser is owned 3/4 by the PIF in Saudi Arabia, and then the other quarter is owned by the nonprofit foundation. They have CR39 right now, or is he 40? I think he's 40. He might be CR40, as a matter of fact, right now. So Al Nasser, I'm sure. So right now, BU7MD. First off, thanks for coming by. We are Team Messi when it comes to either Messi or Ronaldo. And I want to see what the rest of that roster is. I want to see what the rest of the roster currently is at Al Nasser. Current squad. Okay, current squad. See if there's anybody else other than CR40. Sadio Mane, Brozovic. This is a big roster. Aymeric Laporte, and a decent amount of Saudis. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8 import. Other players under contract, two that are other Saudis. So eight players that are not Saudi, and it includes Aymeric Laporte, Sadio Mane, and CR40. So I would say at best, BU, that when it comes to the Saudi League, we don't talk about it a whole lot because we know it's just a whole lot of capital thrown to try and boost a league up that is probably top 40 in the world. But if there is news that surrounds it, we do talk about CR40 and about the league. But we talk mainly about domestic, this hemisphere, southern hemisphere, and Europe. I was about to say just England, but it's Europe. So we talk a lot about everything there and news of the morning. And so apparently the Club World Cup is going to be shown on DAZN, and we all get to find out together how, in fact, we end up getting to watch DAZN. So there you go. All right. But thanks for coming by, and do not be a stranger. Thanks for coming by. Absolutely good to see you. All right, so gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. That's where we are for the remainder of the program today. Once again, back at it again tomorrow. We'll talk stuff, and that is the official term. We're going to talk stuff. So here's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Once again, take the information from the 3 and the 4-letter papers at your own peril. Forest are considering a January bid for Brighton striker Evan Ferguson. Real Madrid only want to sign Trent Alexander-Arnold on a free. Liverpool are planning to make a combined £91 million January move for Milos Kerkesh from Bournemouth and Real Sociedad midfielder Martin Zubamendi. Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Spurs interested in Athletic Bilbao winger Nico Williams. Barcelona monitoring Newcastle's Alexander Isak. Manchester United interested in RB Leipzig's Germany defender David Raum. And Juve and Turkey forward Kenan Yildiz, that is from Florian Plettenberg at Sky Germany. United have approached 24-year-old Canada defender Alphonso Davies to gauge his interest in joining when his Bayern contract expires next summer. Leicester keen to add to their attacking options with a new forward in the January window. With what money? Barcelona attempt to rival Real Madrid for Manchester United's Diogo Dalot should he want to leave Old Trafford. Eric Ten Hag has emerged as a target for RB Leipzig, 3-letter paper via Sky Germany. Amad Diallo could leave Manchester United in January, according to the Express. United are also assessing their keeping options in case Altay Bayindir leaves in January. That's from the 4-letter paper. Spurs, Manchester City, Chelsea, interested in AC Milan midfielder Tiani Reinders. Former Juve and AC Milan manager Max Allegri is a contender for the West Ham job should they sack Julian Lopetegui. Apparently, the board was meeting this morning to determine what they needed to see from Lopetegui to either keep him or sack him. Arsenal have been rejected by AC Milan's Rafael Leao after making an informal approach about a January move. Real Madrid's Raul Asensio turned down the chance to join CFG in a £5 million move this summer. Arsenal and Liverpool, the most likely destinations for Xavi Simon should PSG sell him next summer. He would cost at least £66 million. Napoli in pole position to sign Chelsea, Spurs, and West Ham target Patrick Dorgu from Lecce in January. That's from our friends at La Gazzetta dello Sport. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And we'll see if there's anything else on the board that we might have forgotten when it comes to stuff to watch. Today, Scottish Premiership, Aberdeen and Celtic at 3 o'clock. It's on CBS Sports Network, so you don't have to go all the way over to Golasso Network on Pluto or Golasso Network on Paramount Plus to watch. USA Premier League, 3:15, Villa and Brentford. Deportes, La Liga, Athletic Club and Real Madrid at 3. Liga MX playoffs on 2 to NA at 9:30. Atletico San Luis and Monterrey. ESPN Plus, Australia and Chinese Taipei was at 4 o'clock this morning. Eredivisie, Ajax and Utrecht is at 2. La Liga, Athletic Club and Real Madrid's at 3. DFB Pokal, 4 matches, 2 at noon, 2 at 2:45. Belgian Cup at 2:30 with Genk and Standard Liège. Central American Cup on Fox Soccer Plus at 8. Alajuelense and Real Esteli. Villa and Brentford's on NBCSports.com at 3:15. Paramount Plus has already had the Asian AFC Champions League elite matches. League One, Birmingham City, Stockport County at 2:45. Copa Italia, Fiorentina, Empoli at 3. Argentine Primera, River Plate, and San Lorenzo at 7. We'll go to the juice boxes in a second. 5 matches in the Premier League on Peacock. Southampton, Chelsea, Newcastle, United, Liverpool, City and Forest, Everton and Wolves all at 2:30. Arsenal, Manchester United at 3:15. So juice boxes on those matchups in the Premier League. Fix your fantasy teams, fix your fantasy teams, fix your fantasy teams. So here's the rundown of the juice boxes, and we'll go through the juice boxes really quickly in MLS Cup 2 while we're talking about it. Thanks to Dylan Butler for dropping by. Thanks to Tyler Pilgrim for dropping by on a Wall Pass Wednesday. Everton favored at home against Wolves at a plus 114. Wolves are a plus 257 at Goodison Park. City minus 294 going up against Forest, who are a plus 780. Newcastle, a big dog at home to Liverpool at a minus 112. Newcastle, a plus 293 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Southampton, a plus 771 at home against Chelsea, who's a minus 333. Arsenal, minus 244 at home hosting Manchester United, who's a plus 667. Your draw's a plus 380. Keep an eye on that. Villa, minus 137 hosting Brentford at a plus 353. Brentford did a really cool thing. For the rest of the year, if you're under the age of 18 and you want to go on the road, your ticket's not going to cost you more than £10. Really cool stuff there. So Villa, big favorite at home at a minus 137. Quickly, MLS Cup to update the juice boxes there for the last match of the year. It is LAG a minus 120, so that number's kind of stayed the same. Red Bulls, the number has kind of dropped a little bit. It's now a plus 293. 90-minute draw is a plus 281. So what that means is that's another day for us here at Soccer's Morning Show and SDHAM. Once again, thanks to Jarrett, thanks to Tyler, thanks to Dylan, thanks to all of you in the Twitch pitch. And we'll be back at it again tomorrow. Power Hour, hour number 2 with Nino and Nico. In hour number 1, we'll go through everything and see what we missed and see what we need to promote and see what we need to talk about as we go going forward. I'm trying to think of what else I had on the list. Mentioned the 2034, mentioned Leicester. Hamas and Angel Di Maria are being linked possibly as the new NIL editions for Messi and friends in Fort Lauderdale next year. And what was the pots? Yeah, the pots were announced for the Club World Cup. Since we mentioned the World Cup, the Club World Cup in and of itself, the pots were mentioned. Let me go through them really quickly here, and that'll be the last thing that we get into before we go. So, Jacob's Bin must follow from our friends at Gimme Sports. So, here's the breakdown. So, once again, DAZN, Shea Segev. Mentioned all of those yesterday. Hull is expected to make a formal approach for Reading boss Ruben Sayas. Hull owner Ashun Ilikali has spoken to ex-Fulham boss Slavica Jokanovic and Chris Hughton. Mark Robbins also made the shortlist. Sayas is understood to be the front runner now. If Jessica Charman has her way, she's going to tackle Ruben Sayas and not allow him to go to the interview. QSI owners of PSG responded to the L'Equipe report saying that Qatar's Emir wants to sell the club. QSI spokesperson says it's completely false. Same newspaper writes the same complete rubbish week in and week again. The shareholders have just spent €350 million on Poissy, with further major expansions at campus just announced, looking to invest hundreds of millions on a new stadium while increasing our investments across football, sports, and entertainment. But apparently we're looking to sell. So apparently QSI is kind of hot. Let's see. So the pots, when they were announced yesterday, pot 1 has the 4 highest ranked teams from Europe together with the 4 highest ranked teams from South America. Pot 2, the remaining 8 teams from Europe, including Chelsea. Host country representative Messi and friends are in pot number 4. Here's your ground rules, because this is tomorrow. No group can feature more than 1 team from the same confederation, with the exception of UEFA. Clubs from the same member association can't be paired together, so no chance of Manchester City facing Chelsea in the group stage. So here's your pots. Pot 1. Manchester City, Real Madrid, Bayern, PSG, Flamengo, Palmeiras, River Plate, and Fluminense. Pot 2, Chelsea, Dortmund, Inter, Porto, Atletico Madrid, Benfica, Juve, Salzburg. Pot 3, Al Hilal, Ulsan, Al Ahly, Wydad Casablanca, Monterrey, Leon, Boca Juniors, and Botafogo. Pot 4, Urawa, Red Diamonds, Al Ain, Esperance, Mamelodi Sundowns, Pachuca, Seattle, Auckland City, and Messi and friends. That's pot number 4. So Jacobs continued to break this all down and said that Chelsea can only draw Palmeiras, River Plate, Flamengo, or Fluminense from pot 1, means a 25% chance of Esteval facing his new club. Remember about the exceptional transfer window that leads into the Club World Cup that could allow Esteval to be in the Chelsea squad instead. Palmeiras expect him to play for them in the Club World Cup. The June 1 through 10 window, which the FA would have to take up, was not known at the time of the deal. So tomorrow is the draw for the Club World Cup, and everybody's going to see what's going on there, and we will find out who's playing what and whom, and we'll see what's going on. So FIFA confirmed no TV broadcaster for the Club World Cup. Global rights going to streaming platform DAZN, showing the games for free, and Home Depot has signed on as a supporter of the 2026 World Cup in North America. Sources said the cost of becoming a tournament supporter, level 3 of sponsorships, are in the mid 8-figure range. So Alex Silverman and also Mike Cannell at the AJC have the official home improvement retailer in North America of the FIFA tournament in 2026, a supporter level deal, a tournament supporter. If you can't be a tournament supporter. So that's the news from Home Depot this morning. So that'll do it for us. Once again, later today, gpb.org, the GPB Sports app, Matt Stewart and myself, 4 o'clock live, discussing everything going on signing day. How will it be a Merry Flipmas for any of your favorite college football programs? We'll find out. Then once again, Maddie and I 7 o'clock apparently at Shiloh. It is Dalton United, and it is Kalanji. That's KSA and Dalton United, UPSL Championship on the line. We'll have that broadcast over at the ASMG YouTube channel. So it's going to be fun. So once again, thanks to all of you guys for dropping by this morning as Walpass Wednesday went in a Walpassian Wednesday way. Who knew? And we'll break it all down for you once again tomorrow morning in a little less than 22. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha plata, y'all. And since we are out the door, that means only one other thing gets to be said. And for this, we go to our favorite sergeant, Phil Esterhaus.
Hey, let's be careful out here.